12 years of it's not possible.
If I can have imagination,
I have so imagination.
I think my English a kid that has mental problems and then his head went all the way crazy.
Whose music I can listen to?
Huh?
Who is it? Is it you, Jorge? Is it you? Is your music too loud?
soy yo.
You're gritando. That's too loud. Jorge, bájale.
André. Bájale.
Where are you going? It's not about me. Joseph? Just start drawing now.
Dibujar la cabeza, ahí con el torso, lo que
Remember, you're not supposed to copy the example. It's just supposed, it's there just to help you out.
this you or this is what you have in your hand?
I'm just trying something. This is just ridiculous. I don't know, I just don't like this. Let's look at
If you like something, you should find a way to improve it. 2 minutes. But yeah, I have it. Okay, guys, time is up. So may I ask you to please come join me over here, facing the board? Amanda? Hopefully you won't be making a lot of noise with that chair. Amanda? Thank you. Okay, so do you guys remember what we've been talking about? Go ahead. Do you remember what we've been talking about in our class? What? The elements of art. And which are? Can you help me?
Lines, circles,
Line,
shapes,
shapes,
Form,
value,
space,
space,
color,
texture, color.
These are all very good job. Okay, we already went through line and shapes, right? Do you remember what was our line project?
The mask.
The mask. And we were supposed to show
Different types of lines.
different types of lines. Now, our shape project, what is it?
That's
Romero Brito inspired, right? So we're gonna do something based on his work. Okay, today we're gonna watch the next video because it's also related to Romero Brito, okay? So this is why we're moving on to texture.
I haven't even finished the shape.
Let's see.
Miss, what if we haven't finished?
It's okay.
We tend to think of art as something just to look at, but a lot of artists make their work to stimulate our other senses. Sculptors, textile and fabric artists, bookmakers, ceramicists, and artists working in many other forms think a lot about how to engage viewers' sense of touch. Even when their art is not meant to be touched, artists put a lot of thought and work into creating many different textures. Texture is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape, color, form, value, and space. Texture is the look or feel of a surface. Just like form, texture can be real or implied. If you were to run your hand across this sculpture by Alberto Giacometti, you would feel the hardness of the bronze metal and the roughness of the form that Giacometti created. This is called actual texture. Implied textures are only visual, they can't be felt. For instance, if you could touch the canvas of this self-portrait by Chuck Close, you wouldn't feel the varied textures of skin and hair. You would feel the smoothness of the oil paint. So these textures are implied because we can only see them. There are countless ways that artists create implied textures. How many different kinds of lines do you notice in this painting by Roy DeForest? You have the zigzag lines creating the woman's hair on the left, cross-hatching creating her skin, the blurred, smudged colors coming out of the dog's mouth and the man's mouth in the center. Those are just to name a few kinds of implied textures here. Textures can also be created through use of shapes. In this painting by Gustav Klimt, notice how he repeats shapes to create textures. You have the triangles and lines on the woman's dress on the left, the many spirals creating the tree in the center, and in the woman's dress on the right you have circles within circles, rectangles within squares, and all the scattered shapes throughout the piece create many different textures. Paintings and other typically two-dimensional art can have actual texture. Sometimes artists layer paint on the canvas so thick that it becomes three-dimensional. At that point, the paint is a sculptural element that can be manipulated and shaped. Some artists build up fabrics, textiles, jewelry, and many other objects on the canvas to create additional textures. Artists often feature the natural textures of the materials they use, or textures uniquely created and formed by hand. Whatever the approach, textures are an expressive tool artists use to reinforce their overall messages. The next time you're making a painting, drawing, collage, or sculpture, find a way to incorporate textures that say something relevant and important to you.
Okay, who can help me out? What's real texture and what's implied texture? Lee?
Real texture is when you can physically like touch it like a sculpture and it actually feels. And implied would be like when it makes you like look at it and it seems like it's like real, but when you touch it,
It's not real, right? And he also mentions how sometimes with lines and shapes you can create what kind of texture?
like
Real or implied?
Implied.
Implied. You were gonna say something? Okay. So this is why. What kind of texture would you say Brito shows in his work? Implied, right? Because if you were to feel that, do you think you were gonna feel something bumpy here or different?
maybe on the lines.
Would you feel
like,
something?
kind of like bumps?
Visually, but if you were to feel it,
No.
no, right? Okay, so it's implied texture for Brito. So, what do you think the message is? If you create this kind of texture around his work, what's the message? Valeska? What? Happiness. Anything else?
Joy.
Joy. Anything else?
Creative.
Creativeness.
Hope.
Yes. Yes.
Hope. Unique.
Hope. Unique. Yes. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun to look at. So raise your hand if you are not done with your artist statement or your mask. Okay, those people, I want you working on your mask and artist statement. The other guys, I need you to keep working on your Romero Brito draft. Okay, let's go.
Oh, it's a draft. Oh, I made a really good copy.
I barely
Maybe sad.
Okay, for Romero Brito, you're supposed to choose something that gives you hope or happiness and draw it in a simple way. You see the examples, it's all, everything is very simple and you're supposed to put facts in it.
One song.
What do you need? Carlos, yours is good.
This one.
Pero doy.
Is your finger?
What is it?
After the Argala, yes.
Oh, you're gonna put them in the archives? But that's what's massive. Maria.
Yes, something like this.
And those.
Peruvian. Turn for Peruvian should be. Show me your artist statement. With Peruvian mask. And surrounded by thin lines, curved lines, and zigzags. Only 3 types of lines used, that's it. So want me to bring your card so you can see it? I think there's something very distinctive between your mask and the surroundings, and you should be able to express that. Like, my mask is very, and then the surroundings are very, that's too loud. Too loud. The surroundings are very, what? You should be able to write that down there. Explain that. Are we gonna finish this today? Yes. Okay. Yeah, oh, I like these. Very good. Where are we working on, Joseph? Great. So don't you need your mask to look at it while you work on this? That's your artist statement? I want to see the question.
Put an image of my drawing on it.
That'll be perfect. Okay, and you don't want to worry. So are we copying? No, it's asking me.
Cactus on the ice cream cheese. A couple copies. Totally different.
So first you're supposed to describe every type of line you use. Number 2, you're supposed to explain how did you make the watercolor background. Number 3, you're supposed to explain what's your inspiration.
Do I explain all the colors or are you?
Yes. They're all the same. So number 1, you have to explain all the different types of lines you use. Number 2, how do you make it? The background, step by step. How did you make this background? Step by step. And number 3 is your inspiration. Why did you choose to make this mask? Make sure you make a copy of this and write